Imagine doing something every day that you believe is helping your body burn fat, balance your hormones, and heal from the inside out, but in reality, it's quietly stressing your body, spiking cortisol, crashing key hormones, and making everything harder. You feel tired, irritable, cold, stuck with stubborn fat, and you can't understand why fasting works for everyone else, but seems to be breaking you. If that sounds familiar, stay with me, because today we're going to talk about a truth most people never hear. We haven't just misunderstood fasting, we've been fasting the wrong way, and for a lot of people, especially those already under stress, it's doing more harm than good. Now don't get me wrong, fasting itself is not the enemy. Humans have fasted for thousands of years. Our bodies are incredibly adaptable, and short periods without food can absolutely be powerful. But here's the problem, modern fasting is not the same as natural fasting. Today, people are fasting on top of chronic stress, poor sleep, nutrient deficiencies, overtraining, caffeine dependence, and emotional pressure. And when you stack fasting on top of all that, the body doesn't interpret it as healing, it interprets it as danger. Think about how your body actually works. Your body's number one job is survival, not fat loss, not abs, not longevity trends you saw on social media. Survival. And survival is governed largely by your stress response system. Cortisol is a hormone we love to demonize, but cortisol itself isn't bad. It's essential. It helps you wake up in the morning, regulate blood sugar, control inflammation, and respond to challenges. The issue is chronic cortisol. When cortisol stays elevated for too long, it starts suppressing other hormones like progesterone, testosterone, thyroid hormones, and even insulin sensitivity. And this is where fasting goes wrong for so many people. When you fast incorrectly, especially for long hours while drinking only black coffee, pushing intense workouts, sleeping poorly, and running on low calories day after day, your body doesn't say, "Oh great, time for cellular repair." It says, "Food is scarce, danger is high, slow everything down." That's when cortisol rises, metabolism slows, cravings intensify, and hormones go out of balance. Let's talk about one of the biggest mistakes people make with fasting. They think longer is always better. If 16 hours is good, then 18 must be better. If 18 is good, then 24 must be amazing. And before you know it, people are doing extended fasts while already exhausted, already inflamed, already anxious. That's not metabolic flexibility. That's metabolic strain. Your body needs signals of safety to function optimally. Adequate calories, sufficient protein, minerals like sodium, potassium, magnesium, enough carbohydrates for some people, rest, sunlight, and consistency. When fasting removes too many of these signals at once, cortisol rises to compensate. Cortisol helps keep blood sugar stable when food is absent, but it does that by breaking down muscle tissue and increasing glucose production from the liver. Over time, that leads to muscle loss, slower metabolism, and increased fat storage, especially around the belly. And this is why so many people say things like, "I'm fasting, eating less, working out more, but I'm gaining weight or staying stuck." It's not because you lack willpower, it's because your body is stressed. Now let's talk specifically about hormones, because this is where the damage really adds up. In women, excessive fasting can disrupt the delicate balance between estrogen and progesterone. Progesterone is extremely sensitive to stress. When cortisol is high, the body literally steals building blocks from progesterone to make more cortisol. This is sometimes called the progesterone steal. The result: PMS, irregular cycles, anxiety, poor sleep, and stubborn fat, especially around the hips and thighs. Many women are told to just fast harder, when in reality their bodies are begging for nourishment and rhythm. In men, chronic fasting stress can lower testosterone. Testosterone doesn't thrive in a stressed environment. It thrives when the body feels safe, fueled, and strong. Low testosterone shows up as low energy, reduced muscle mass, poor recovery, low motivation, and increased belly fat. Again, the problem isn't fasting itself. It's fasting layered on top of stress. And then there's the thyroid. The thyroid is like the metabolic thermostat of your body. When it senses prolonged calorie restriction or inconsistent energy intake, it downshifts. T3, the active thyroid hormone, decreases. You feel cold, sluggish, foggy, and your metabolism slows. Many people unknowingly suppress their thyroid while believing they're doing something healthy. Another major issue is blood sugar. A lot of people think fasting automatically improves blood sugar, but that's not always true. In some people, especially those with high stress or adrenal dysfunction, fasting can actually make blood sugar more unstable. Cortisol raises blood sugar, adrenaline raises blood sugar, so you might wake up feeling shaky, anxious, wired but tired, with a racing mind. You break your fast and feel relief, not because you were weak, but because your body was under stress. And let's talk about caffeine, because this is a huge hidden problem. Many people fast on coffee alone. Black coffee, maybe multiple cups, sometimes with intense workouts on top. Coffee stimulates cortisol. Exercise stimulates cortisol. Fasting stimulates cortisol. None of these are bad alone, but together they can overwhelm your system. You're basically pressing the gas pedal on your stress hormones all morning with no fuel coming in. Over time, that leads to burnout. Your body is not a machine that runs better the less you give it. It's a living system that responds to signals, and fasting is a signal. If the signal says temporary rest from digestion, plenty of resources available, the body responds positively. If the signal says chronic deprivation, danger, unpredictability, the body responds defensively. Another issue people don't talk about enough is protein intake. Many fasters simply don't eat enough protein in their eating window. Protein is essential for muscle, enzymes, neurotransmitters, and hormone production. If you're fasting long hours and then eating low-protein meals, your body has no choice but to break down muscle to meet its needs. That muscle loss further slows metabolism and worsens insulin sensitivity. Then there's the psychological stress. Constantly watching the clock, obsessing over fasting windows, feeling guilt when you eat earlier than planned, ignoring hunger cues. That mental stress alone can raise cortisol. Health practices should create calm and stability, not anxiety and rigidity. So what does fasting done the right way actually look like? First, it respects your current stress load. If you're sleeping poorly, emotionally stressed, overtraining, or under-eating, aggressive fasting is not the answer. Sometimes the most healing thing you can do is shorten your fasting window or stop fasting altogether for a period. Second, it prioritizes nourishment when you do eat. That means enough calories, enough protein, enough minerals, and for many people, enough carbohydrates. Carbs are not the enemy of hormones. In fact, carbs help lower cortisol and support thyroid function. For some people, especially women, completely cutting carbs while fasting is a recipe for hormonal chaos. Third, it aligns with your circadian rhythm. Eating earlier in the day and fasting overnight is generally less stressful than skipping breakfast and eating late at night. Your body is more insulin sensitive in the morning. Ignoring that can add unnecessary stress. Fourth, it's flexible. The body loves rhythm, not rigidity. Some days you might fast 12 hours. Other days you eat earlier. That adaptability actually builds metabolic resilience instead of breaking it. And most importantly, fasting should make you feel better over time, not worse. More energy, better mood, improved focus, stable appetite, better sleep. If fasting makes you feel anxious, exhausted, cold, or obsessive, that's information, not failure. Here's the hard truth. Many people use fasting as a way to eat less without addressing why their body is stressed in the first place. They try to force fat loss through restriction, instead of creating an internal environment where fat loss happens naturally. Your body releases fat when it feels safe, not when it feels threatened. This is why some people thrive on fasting and others crash. The difference isn't discipline, it's physiology. A well-nourished, well-rested, low-stress body can handle fasting beautifully. A depleted, stressed body cannot. So if you've been fasting and feel stuck, exhausted, or hormonally off, it doesn't mean fasting is bad. It means your body needs a different approach. Sometimes healing looks like eating breakfast. Sometimes it looks like adding salt, protein, or carbs. Sometimes it looks like resting instead of pushing. And sometimes it looks like letting go of trends and listening to your body again. Your hormones are not your enemy. Cortisol is not your enemy. They are messengers. And right now, for a lot of people, they're sending a very clear message: slow down, nourish, create safety, because real health, real fat loss, and real balance don't come from constant stress. They come from alignment. And if this video made you rethink how you've been fasting, that's a good thing. Because the goal isn't to starve your body into change. It's to support it into healing. When we talk about flexible, circadian, aligned eating windows, we're really talking about working with the body instead of constantly trying to control it. The human body is not random. It follows rhythms, internal clocks that have been shaped over thousands of years. Every cell in your body responds to light, darkness, sleep, food timing, and consistency. Your metabolism, hormones, digestion, energy levels, and even mood are all deeply connected to these natural rhythms. When eating aligns with these rhythms, the body feels safe, efficient, and resilient. When eating fights against them, even the best intentions can backfire. Circadian rhythm is essentially your body's internal 24-hour clock. It governs when cortisol should rise, when melatonin should increase, when insulin sensitivity is highest, and when digestion works best. In the morning, cortisol naturally rises to help you wake up and mobilize energy. Insulin sensitivity is generally higher earlier in the day, meaning your body can handle food, especially carbohydrates, more efficiently. As the day goes on and light fades, melatonin begins to rise, signaling the body to slow down, repair, and prepare for sleep. Digestion naturally becomes less efficient at night, and eating large meals late can disrupt this process. Flexible eating windows respect these rhythms rather than overriding them with rigid rules. Instead of forcing the body to adapt to an artificial schedule like never eat before noon or always fast 18 hours no matter what, flexibility allows food timing to change based on sleep quality, stress levels, activity, and overall health. This adaptability is what builds metabolic resilience. A resilient metabolism can shift between using glucose and fat efficiently without triggering stress responses. Rigid fasting rules often ignore context. They don't consider whether someone slept 4 hours or 8, whether they trained intensely or rested, whether they're under emotional stress, or whether their hormones are already strained. The body experiences rigidity as unpredictability and pressure. When meals are delayed despite strong hunger signals, the nervous system can interpret that as threat. Cortisol rises to maintain blood sugar, adrenaline kicks in, and over time this pattern trains the body to associate eating with stress rather than nourishment. Circadian aligned eating windows typically involve eating earlier in the day and allowing the body to fast naturally overnight. This doesn't mean everyone needs to eat breakfast the moment they wake up, but it does mean honoring hunger cues that appear in the morning rather than suppressing them with stimulants. For many people, a gentle breakfast within 1 to 2 hours of waking can lower cortisol, stabilize blood sugar, and set the tone for the entire day. When the first meal is delayed too long, especially under stress, the body compensates by releasing stress hormones to keep energy available. Flexibility also means understanding that fasting length does not need to be the same every day. Some days the body may thrive on a longer overnight fast, especially after a nourishing dinner and good sleep. Other days, especially after poor sleep or intense physical activity, a shorter fast may be far more supportive. This variability mirrors real life and signals abundance rather than deprivation. The body learns that food is reliable, which reduces the need for defensive hormonal responses. One of the most overlooked benefits of circadian aligned eating is its effect on insulin sensitivity. Insulin sensitivity is not static throughout the day. It is highest in the morning and gradually declines toward evening. Eating most calories earlier, especially carbohydrates, allows insulin to work efficiently, reducing the need for high insulin output and minimizing blood sugar swings. Late-night eating, particularly large or carbohydrate-heavy meals, forces the body to manage glucose at a time when insulin sensitivity is lower, increasing stress and impairing sleep quality. Sleep itself is deeply affected by meal timing. Eating late can interfere with melatonin production, body temperature regulation, and digestive rest. Poor sleep then feeds back into hormonal imbalance the next day, raising cortisol, increasing hunger, and reducing glucose tolerance. This creates a cycle where rigid fasting during the day and overeating at night become a stress-driven loop. Circadian aligned eating breaks this cycle by front-loading nourishment and allowing the body to wind down naturally in the evening. Metabolic resilience is not about how long you can go without food, it's about how efficiently your body can switch fuel sources without stress. A resilient metabolism can burn fat between meals because it trusts that food will return. Rigid fasting teaches the body that food is unpredictable, which can increase fat storage rather than reduce it. When the body feels secure, it releases stored energy willingly. When it feels threatened, it holds on. Flexibility also supports hormonal balance across different life stages. Women, in particular, experience hormonal fluctuations across the menstrual cycle that influence energy needs and insulin sensitivity. During certain phases, longer fasts may feel easy and beneficial. During others, especially the luteal phase, the body often requires more calories and carbohydrates. Rigid fasting ignores these shifts and can amplify symptoms like fatigue, cravings, anxiety, and disrupted cycles. Flexible eating adapts to these natural changes instead of fighting them. Men also benefit from flexibility, especially when training hard or under work stress. Testosterone production is sensitive to energy availability and stress. Consistently delaying food while pushing physical output can signal energy scarcity, leading to hormonal downregulation. Eating earlier on training days and allowing shorter fasts can actually enhance performance, recovery, and body composition over time. Another important aspect is digestion. Digestive capacity follows circadian rhythms as well. Stomach acid, digestive enzymes, and gut motility are more active earlier in the day. Eating when digestion is primed reduces bloating, discomfort, and nutrient malabsorption, Poor digestion itself is a stressor that can elevate cortisol and inflammation. Aligning meals with digestive rhythms supports nutrient uptake, which in turn supports metabolic health. Flexible eating windows also reduce psychological stress. When food rules are rigid, the mind becomes hyper, focused on timing, creating anxiety around meals. This mental stress alone can disrupt hormones and digestion. Flexibility allows eating to be guided by both structure and intuition. Structure provides rhythm, while intuition allows adaptation. This balance is where long-term consistency lies. Social and lifestyle factors matter as well. Humans are social eaters, constantly declining meals, stressing about timing, or forcing eating windows that clash with family life can create emotional stress. Stress is not just physical, it's emotional and social. Flexible eating allows health practices to fit into real life instead of requiring life to bend around them. Circadian aligned eating doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't require eating at the exact same minute every day. It means generally eating during daylight hours, nourishing the body earlier, and allowing a natural overnight fast. Even a 12-hour overnight fast can provide many benefits without triggering stress responses. For many people, this is far more sustainable and healing than extreme fasting protocols. Metabolic resilience also depends on consistency over time, not intensity. The body responds better to gentle, repeated signals than to extreme interventions. Eating in alignment with circadian rhythms sends a daily signal of safety and predictability. Over weeks and months, this can improve insulin sensitivity, thyroid function, hormone balance, and energy levels without the crashes associated with rigid fasting. Another overlooked benefit is how flexible eating supports recovery from stress and illness. When the body is recovering, energy needs increase. Rigid fasting during recovery can delay healing by limiting nutrients required for repair. Circadian, aligned flexibility allows the body to receive what it needs when it needs it, accelerating recovery rather than prolonging depletion. Even fat loss becomes easier in this context. When cortisol is lower and insulin sensitivity is higher, the body can access stored fat more efficiently. Hunger signals normalize, cravings decrease, and energy stabilizes. Fat loss becomes a byproduct of balance rather than a battle of willpower. People often fear flexibility because they associate it with loss of control. In reality, flexibility requires more awareness, not less. It means paying attention to sleep, stress, hunger, energy, and recovery. It means adjusting rather than forcing. This awareness builds a deeper connection with the body, which is essential for long-term health. Circadian aligned eating also supports gut health. The gut microbiome follows daily rhythms influenced by meal timing. Consistent daytime eating and nighttime fasting promote microbial diversity and gut barrier integrity. Late night eating and erratic schedules disrupt these rhythms, contributing to inflammation and metabolic dysfunction. The modern world already disrupts circadian rhythms through artificial light, screen exposure, irregular sleep, and constant stimulation. Rigid fasting layered on top of this disruption can compound stress. Flexible eating that honors natural rhythms acts as a stabilizing force, anchoring the body in predictability despite external chaos. Metabolic resilience is especially important as we age. As people get older, tolerance for extreme stress decreases. Recovery takes longer and hormonal shifts become more pronounced. Gentle, circadian-aligned eating supports longevity by reducing chronic stress load and preserving muscle mass, insulin sensitivity, and hormonal balance. Children and adolescents also naturally follow circadian rhythms in appetite and energy. Observing these patterns can remind adults how intuitive eating once felt before rigid rules took over. Hunger in the morning, steady energy during the day, and reduced appetite at night are natural expressions of a healthy rhythm. Even athletes benefit from circadian alignment. Performance, strength, and coordination often peak earlier in the day. Fueling appropriately around training times, especially earlier, enhances adaptation and reduces injury risk. Fasting long hours before training can impair output and increase stress hormones, undermining long-term progress. Flexible eating windows allow fasting to be a tool rather than a rule. Some days fasting longer may feel restorative. Other days eating sooner may feel supportive. The key is that fasting becomes optional and responsive, not compulsory. This removes pressure and allows the body to lead. The concept of metabolic resilience is rooted in adaptability. A rigid system breaks under stress. A flexible system bends and recovers. By aligning eating windows with circadian rhythms and allowing flexibility, the metabolism becomes more robust, capable of handling variations in lifestyle, stress, and activity without crashing. When people stop fighting their biology and start working with it, the body often responds with relief. Energy improves, sleep deepens, digestion calms, and hormones begin to stabilize. These changes don't come from doing more or restricting harder, but from restoring rhythm. rigid fasting rules often promise control and results, but they can disconnect people from their internal signals. Circadian aligned flexibility restores that connection. It teaches the body that nourishment is reliable, rhythms are respected, and stress does not need to dominate. Over time, this approach builds trust between mind and body. Hunger cues become clearer. Satiety signals strengthen, cravings diminish. The nervous system shifts from fight or flight toward rest and digest. This internal environment is where true metabolic health lives. Flexible eating is not about abandoning structure, but about choosing structure that serves physiology. It's about recognizing that the body already knows how to regulate energy when given the right conditions. Circadian alignment provides those conditions naturally. The modern obsession with extreme fasting often overlooks this simplicity. Health does not require constant deprivation. It requires consistency, nourishment, and rhythm. By eating in harmony with the body's internal clock, metabolic resilience becomes a natural outcome rather than a forced goal. As people begin to experiment with earlier meals, gentler fasting, and responsive eating, many notice reduced anxiety around food. Meals become enjoyable again. Food becomes fuel rather than a stressor. This psychological shift alone can profoundly impact hormonal balance. Circadian aligned eating also encourages mindful evenings. As food intake tapers off, the body prepares for rest. This can improve sleep quality, which further enhances metabolic health. Sleep, hormones, and metabolism form a feedback loop that either supports or undermines health. When sleep improves, cortisol regulation improves. When cortisol improves, insulin sensitivity improves. When insulin sensitivity improves, fat loss and energy regulation follow naturally. This cascade begins with rhythm. Flexibility ensures that this rhythm can be maintained long term. Life changes, schedules shift, stress comes and goes. A flexible system adapts without breaking. Rigid systems crack under pressure. In the end, metabolic resilience is not built by forcing the body into compliance. It is built by creating an environment where the body feels safe enough to function optimally. Circadian aligned eating windows provide that environment by honoring biology, reducing stress, and allowing adaptability.